you've said this thing and you've seriously challenged my perspectives as well as many others on pets as well as other things of the idiocy that veganism can come to.
Sure.
Like the fact of, like, I was imagining in my mind that veganism is this utopia where everything's perfect, where not insects are harmed and everything's wonderful, but an ideology can become idiocy very quickly, and you have really put out content that has seriously humbled me as a vegan. In that, I am extremely happy to have come across your channel and your content.
Hey guys, what's up? This is a somewhat unusual disclaimer at the start of an edited podcast. In addition to the videos that I upload to YouTube, you may or may not know that I also record podcasts and upload them to Patreon. The vast majority of my podcasts are exclusive. They're Patreon only, so people who pay $1 per month get to hear them. Some of my podcasts I record alone. I recorded several actually while I was in airports because I've been traveling around the world lately. And some of them I record, like this one, in conversation with other people. This conversation is unusual in a number of ways. First and foremost, although I do encourage criticism, contrary to what some of you might think, and I do enjoy responding to criticism, I only like responding to criticism that meets a certain standard, that rises to a certain caliber or level. I do not think anyone on the internet should let their website or YouTube channel come to be dominated by responses to the most vocal 10% of people on the internet, nor to the stupidest 10% of people on the internet. And very often, it's the most vocal and most stupid 10% of people who dominate public discussion forums, right? So I try to respond to the most intelligent 10% or 50% of my audience and what they send to me. And I do. I get intelligent, highly intelligent email and comments all the time that I'd love to record videos in response to. So, remember, one of the reasons why I don't respond to what I consider garbage content is because there's better quality content out there for me to respond to. Just the other day, I uploaded a video, very substantive, talking about wildlife management, habitat conservation, and the implications of these concepts for vegan activism, for vegan political philosophy. So that to me is the type of really substantive content I want to respond to and I want to expand on and offer my own thoughts on. And I'm not really interested in responding to he said, she said, drama, etc. Although I do get dragged into it. And this podcast you're about to hear not only contains the he said, she said type of drama. There's nonsense between myself and Vegan that I hope nobody's going to remember 5 years from now because it's meaningless and it's petty and it's crude. But also I respond to, you're going to hear it just in the first few minutes as this is edited, you're going to hear references to people who believe and propound really crazy conspiracy theories about me. Some of you may not realize this at all, but there are channels on the internet, there are people on the internet who claim that I'm secretly working for the CIA, who claim that I'm secretly working for the meat industry, who claim that I am trying to destroy veganism from within. And they're not joking. Whether it's out of stupidity or malice, those are their real thoughts, their real opinions. So again, it may sound to you ridiculous when you say I don't want to respond to the most vocal and most stupid 10% of people on the internet. But no, to me it would be ridiculous for my channel to be bogged down with me coming on camera and responding to people making those accusations. That I'm secretly working for the CIA, that I'm secretly working for Monsanto, that I'm trying to destroy veganism. So that stuff, for the first time ever on my YouTube channel, that is mentioned here because Conrad has emotional attachments to some of those people. He knows some of them as human beings, person to person or face to face, whatever you want to say, who actually say those things about me. So when I'm saying to Conrad, it may sound abstract, I say to him, look, Conrad, you're a smart guy. How is it that you can take the lies these people say about me and treat them as credible when you know they're not credible sources of information? If you don't know that context, you might think I'm talking about trivialities, but no, a lot of these are really kind of ridiculous, over-the-top conspiracy theories, and people who very actively defame me or just invent stories about me, invent fiction about me. So at one point I ask, look, even if some of these lies are harmless, if we don't challenge them, when is it going to stop? Right? How is it going to stop? If this so-called movement, this nascent social movement of veganism, is really burdened with this kind of accusation and counter-accusation, this kind of myth-making, then obviously I'm not just concerned for my own situation within the movement, I'm concerned for whether or not the movement can have a future at all. Okay, so that is a significant disclaimer. For many of you, this is simply a podcast you should not listen to. Many of you come here for my most substantive content. Now, this conversation, I think, actually does have some very substantive content scattered within it. I think we do genuinely talk about some philosophical and political issues within veganism that are of real interest, including the question of how to really organize activism. And one of the leitmotifs, one of the themes that comes up again and again, is the nature of friendship itself, and the difference between simply trying to make friends on the internet and the pursuit of fame on the internet, and the difference between trying to make friends, people who are really your friends, people you can trust, and other ideas of organization, other ideas of trying to, instigate political activism or try to inspire people to get involved with building a community with organizing real political activism. So that contrast and questions surrounding the nature of friendship, and then how it is that indeed on the internet, sometimes privately, sometimes publicly, I end up saying that people are not my friends. Recently, a couple of people where I had private conversations, they took the step to make that into a public conflagration. And whatever. I mean, I gotta deal with the consequences. But as you guys know, on the one hand, I do not have my heart broken, and on the other hand, I think it's worth it. Whether you end up with 5, 10, or 50 real friends, real people you can trust, that is something tremendously precious. That's a real reward that you get from doing digital activism. And, I'm not going to lie to you. When I left Cambodia, by contrast, I really had nobody and I had nothing. And I thought, I'm not doing this again. I'm not going to move to another country, start a new home, start a new life from a blank sheet of paper, and then leave with nothing. For me, one of the most fundamental reasons to try to create contacts, but to have colleagues over the internet, is because I want to have people I can work with, people I can cooperate with in pursuit of social change, in this case veganism, ecology, animal rights, etc. I want to have those colleagues travel with me. And they do. The friends I've made now on the internet still know me, even though I just relocated from Canada to China. And basically, the friends I had in Canada, they're gone. The same way that when I left Cambodia, I lost the friends I had in Cambodia. When I left China on previous trips, when I left Laos, in general, I lost the friends I'd made with my feet in the ground. So for me, indeed, I reiterated again and again, what I'm really doing here on YouTube is not activism, even though it is often about activism. We often talk about activism, though what we're doing here on camera is not activism. But a significant part of what I'm doing really is making friends. All right, that's enough of a preamble. Hate it or love it. Here you go. My conversation with Conradical Vegan. Coming back to this question of dividing the community. For you as a gay man, I'm sorry, I'm presuming you're a gay man. What if someone said to you, you know what, this gay rights thing, there's no point doing what we're doing. We need to work within the Catholic Church to make the Catholic Church pro-gay rights. You would have to make a decision. Maybe you think that's a great idea. But for me, if I were gay, I'm not, but I can sympathize. Say, okay, look, either I'm going to spend the next 10 years of my life working inside an organization that openly hates me, or I say, fuck that, I'm going to join some other religion or just not. Just leave the Catholic Church and have nothing. The point is here with veganism, it's not dividing the community. Each of us, there were a lot of kind of crappy vegan organizations or crappy ecological organizations where we have to make that decision on a case-by-case basis. Do I want to spend the next 5 years of my life inside people for the ethical treatment of animals? Some people do. Some people are happy with that. Do I want to spend the next 5 years of my life inside an organization that eats meat? That's like a nature conservation group, but maybe they are pro-hunting. And even within veganism, so like direct action everywhere, I think it's kind of lame. Individually, we have to make a decision. Do I think this is bullshit to the point where I want to leave, like the Catholic Church, or do I want to work inside it or what? So to me, that's not dividing the community. That's being honest about like, hey, life is complicated and fucked up. We're making these kinds of decisions, and life is long, but it's not that long. I don't have 10 years to fuck around with the Catholic Church.
À-bas-le-ciel.
As this thing with Durian Rider happened, he quickly took Durian Rider's side and then was saying that you single-handedly are working to destroy the vegan movement. Right. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? If I was in your shoes, and I was threatened, and I had a swarm of YouTube people that are making videos saying that I'm like the evil of the YouTube community and that I need to be dealt with, I would try to police every channel that talked negative about me, trying to find who was on my side and who wasn't. That's what I would do, because I would be concerned for my safety and the safety of my family.
À-bas-le-ciel.
You know, you've said this thing, and you've seriously challenged my perspectives, as well as many others, on pets, as well as other things of the idiocy that veganism can come to.
Sure.
Like the fact of, like, I was imagining in my mind that veganism is this utopia where everything's perfect, where not insects are harmed and everything's wonderful, but an ideology can become idiocy very quickly, and you have really put out content that has seriously humbled me as a vegan, in that I am extremely happy to have come across your channel and your content. The thing that I have experienced is when you were talking about pet ownership and the double-edged sword that it presents within veganism.
Yeah, I saw one of your written comments on that. Right, yeah.
There is an emotional attachment, and you are absolutely right in this. But when we talk about solutions, it's a very gray area because we're kind of damned if we do and damned if we don't. And I think that Vegan for Good, he took it under your assumption that we should just send them out into the wild.
Yeah.
And some of these animals have been eugenicized to not be able to survive in the wild.
Yeah. Look,
so it's a very difficult situation.
Well, look, I mean, you know, this isn't really about the pet ownership issue, but I mean, you're correct that many people, including him, hate me because of the pet ownership issue. But he had no real interest in understanding what my argument was. And this happens in politics all the time. Like when you look at the Republican Party versus the Democrat Party, he was very intentionally misunderstanding what I had to say and portraying what I had to say in an extreme way, and in at least one video lying about what I had to say. And again, his emotions are involved, and I don't, you know, I'm not angry about it, but that is what goes on. So, you know, again, in mainstream politics, you see that all the time, where, you know, the Republican Party pretends to misunderstand the Democrat Party's proposal on health care. And the actual proposal is incredibly boring, but they make it into something, you know, dramatic. I'm happy to have any of these kind of substantive discussions, but I mean, obviously it's frustrating when people are kind of just making things up that are not true. And like already there, you had kind of two examples. So one is somebody saying that I support like all of these animals just living in the streets, like all of the animals that are currently pets becoming feral or living in alleyways. And now I've actually made videos that do say explicitly, no, that's not what I believe, and I've posted written comments saying no, CF what I actually believe, etc. So I mean, that's one kind of misrepresentation, and you know, maybe it's inevitable. But the other is then, so I mean, so you know some of these sources are not credible. If a guy like Vegan for Good is willing to lie about what happened in Chiang Mai and make up kind of crazy conspiracy theories about how I'm trying to destroy the vegan community, and he's not the only one. Vegan Revolution probably goes the furthest, where Vegan Revolution like actually thinks I'm working for the CIA, and he's actually claimed that like I never lived in Laos. You know, like in the past I lived in Laos and Cambodia. I complained about it on my channel, you know, like where people are really into the conspiracy mindset. So like my question is, I turn around to a guy like you, like my impression is you're a smart guy. It's based on your YouTube videos. Like you've said intelligent things, interesting things. But I don't know you. But it's like I look at a guy like you, and you're taking information from channels like that you know are not trustworthy, you know they're not reliable, you know they have real malice toward me. So even if he's honest about other things in his life, this is somebody who comes to the internet and tells lies about me because he openly hates me. And I've heard him say on camera, like I remember he said once, I was going to say something positive about à-bas-le-ciel also to balance it, and he said, but I just had to admit to myself, like, I hate this guy and I can't do it. Like, you know, he was so emotional that he couldn't do more. Which again, like, it's keeping it real. I don't resent it. It's like, hey man, like you're that deep in the game. But like again, so it's like, so I just don't see how someone like you can put together pieces of information from channels like that and then make your own video like repeating that stuff as if it's true. And it's like, you know, so I know like the email I sent you is not that polite, but it's like, look, this stuff you're saying, I think I say it's not true, and it's also not well informed. You're treating people as credible sources that are overtly not credible. So that was what I had to say to you. That was really the core of it. My point is, like, that kind of thing where it's really false, that's where, like, I feel like, I wish you'd delete the video or record a new video or post this conversation or something, because it's just like, what, where does it stop if we really are inventing, myths and fables like this within veganism and the internet? Now, I mean, even then, like, I recognize this particular lie is not really dangerous, but, I just say, where does it stop?
I have such a small channel. I've never experienced any threats against me or anything. So this is all me talking about my ideas and stuff.
Right.
Whereas you seriously got a ton of death threats, and I can't even imagine. There's a tendency that when you get threatened, to be able to just think that everyone is out to get you.
Right. But I'm not like that. But Conrad, you made a video which I have every right to be offended by. I mean, I know you didn't mean it badly, but you say shit about my divorce and my wife, and say shit about my relationship with Anne, which is just not true. Again, you don't know anything about the situation with me and Anne, which, again, I'm not mad at you, but I could be, but the point is, I still have an open heart and an open mind. I still reach out to other vegans. I still cooperate with them, even though Durian Ryder threatened to beat me up, etc. So, I mean, that's part of it. But look, the point is, the first thing I said was, some of these allegations, the nature of them is not credible, even when you only hear one side of the story. I think the main example I use is actually Tobias Leonhardt, who's not that famous, but he's another vegan on YouTube. I just mentioned. But let's say, like, when I criticize Tobias Leonhardt, this is also true when I criticize Freely or many other examples, I actually summarize what he's saying accurately. I don't lie about his argument and then criticize the lies I've told you. I obviously do think there's a difference between criticism and defamation.
I supported his argument of not releasing pets into the wild if they're not able to survive. Like, I supported that perspective. However, as this thing with Durian Ryder happened, he quickly took Durian Ryder's side and then was saying that you single-handedly are working to destroy the vegan movement. Right. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Here's this person that I liked so much, and they're saying shit like this, and I'm like, I'm seeing people respond to videos like the White Pride did response videos to people that are saying, oh, well, we should do it in a different way, like conspiring and plotting. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? You, amongst many others, have presented a critique to veganism to kind of hold us accountable. Personally, at this point, with all this drama that's going on YouTube, I don't think that it's vegans that are going to make the world grow. I think it's non-vegans, because, we're seeing rights for elephants happen, or rights for orcas. That's not just being done by vegans. Those are being done by the general public.
That's right.
They care about one species more than another. We see suffrage happen in a different right than abolition, and gay rights happen at a different time. Certain classes are going to receive rights at different rates than others. So I think veganism is going to be this wave of cascades of escalating some animals' rights over others for a while.
Right. Look, so anyway, that's obviously an interesting point you made, although it's not the central to the discussion we're having right now. But yeah, that is a very interesting point. And the issue...
For instance, one of your biggest followers, especially someone that has a lot of followers now, Vegan Cheetah, for example, I wanted to know what his perspective of the difference between your philosophy and his perspective. And the only thing he said is different between you and him is that you want community and he doesn't give a fuck about it. And, and even the Light Twins, like, they did a really wonderful talk with you, and they're like, oh, Isel, like, won't you, like, work and, like, make a community where we can all interact with one another? I think that we have this longing to have this open form of communication, to be able to talk about our societal differences. But I think that you have a lot of expectations on you from people, like the Light Twins and Vegan Cheetah, and even I have kind of been like, oh, Isel's so smart, like, he'll be able to do all these things, and blah, blah, and it's an effort on all of us to be able to do this. And the thing is, like, if I was in your shoes and I was threatened, and I had a swarm of YouTube people that are making videos saying that I'm like the evil of the YouTube community and that I need to be dealt with, I would try to police every channel that talked negative about me, trying to find who was on my side and who wasn't. That's what I would do. Because I would be concerned for my safety and the safety of my family.
Right.
Durian Rider created this environment where anyone that talked about cooked food or anything else wasn't included. And it became a cesspool of poison and became a fascist network. I do not want something like this to happen again.
Absolutely. So look, the first thing I had to say was that that's really intelligent, and I'd encourage you to make a video talking about or reflecting on those things you just said. I think that's better than the video you got up. But like the second thing I'd say is sympathy can be misleading. And what you said is sympathetic. You said this is the core of sympathy. You said if I were in your position, this is how I would feel. This is what I do. Like I am a very unusual guy. These people doxed me. These people insulted my mom. You know, these people try to bring my mom into it. Some of them bring my daughter and my ex-wife into it, accuse me of being a wife beater. And the weird thing is, I really am the one person in a million who is not upset by that. And the other people, have written to me, other people who Durian Rider denounced in the past, they wrote to me, talking to me about how they went into a clinical depression. Their whole life collapsed, and, you know, they couldn't stand up for themselves or fight back because they were just so emotionally crushed. I don't know. You know, Hannah Chloe, I talked to her at the beginning of her thing with Durian Rider, and now she doesn't talk to anybody. She may or may not have. I mean, she publicly just says she's not talking to anyone because she's so upset. I assume that's true, but, you know, it's easy to imagine, obviously, that she's just so upset or depressed. So there are people who collapse. The weird thing is, and I have reflected a little bit about this on my channel, I am actually the one person in a million who's not like that. When I was saying to Durian Rider that I didn't care if I went to Thai prison, like, for a couple of months, I actually don't care. When I said, like, I actually don't care if I live or die, I actually am at that point.
I totally understand that. But you have to admit that because they're dragging your family into it, it becomes even more personal because it's not about your safety, but it's about theirs. The thing is, like, Durian Rider's even making anti-Semitic remarks on videos that they think is your mom. It's cascading into a fucking mess. And I'm just like, I think that YouTube is an animal that is 1 ounce, an ounce of narcissism because we exalt ourselves on our channel and we get all the kudos or whatnot. And then veganism, we have this moral superiority that somehow we're more morally pure because we care about the animals and no one fucking doesn't. Like, so it's, I think it's a mess because of both of those coupled together. That's just a theory.
You know, beyond that, the other side of me, which is maybe unusual, I often say to my friends, you know, that I'm a very kind of Bronze Age person. I really believe in honor and dignity. Like, you've heard me use words like honor and dignity on my YouTube channel, which most people just don't use. And so, like, when you look at the situation with me and Vegan, this is typical. Like I just say, this is typical of me as a character and the way I am with all my friends. It's like, look, Anne, you and I had an agreement, like we did. We talked for more than an hour on Skype. We talked about exactly the shit she did. We talked about, like, because in the past, prior to that Skype conversation, she had been on channels like Joe Best and others, like, approving of videos that denounced me. Like, sometimes the whole video, like, the video was titled, like, Eisel Mazard is a shithead. Or, you know, and then, like, she had the comment, like, wow, interesting, I really like your perspective, or some shit like this. And, like, you know, just approving the video. And, like, you know, obviously I can laugh about it, but it's like, Anne, like, what I'm doing here is making real friends in real life. Like, this is about actual friendship and actual trust. And I'm not like many other people. YouTube is sort of about fame or about, like, a celebrity type relationship or something, but, like, my relationships with these people, including like Vegan Gains is very famous, but including Vegan Cheetah, you can see when I was on his YouNow, I talked to Vegan Cheetah the way I talk to a friend I know in real life, like, period. And I just mentioned, like, I have a podcast with him we recorded right after his mom died, where we talk about the death and
You're the only one that stuck by him that made that video.
Oh, okay.
It's just like, so he goes to rehab, he loses his fucking mom, and no one gives a shit. And then right when he comes out of rehab, he uses a hair product, and they're like, that was tested on animals, you're not even fucking vegan Cheetah. And then right after that, then comes out the Gary Yourofsky's an asshole, and all the, like, just holding all these other vegan YouTubers accountable, which is something that needed to be done for a while. Because we need that growth to grow.
But look, my point is actually not that I'm a nice guy. As always, I'm not arguing that I'm a nice guy because I have the relationship with Cheetah. My point was to say, like, with people like Anne and also Ali Tabrizi, a lot of people freaked out that I dared to criticize Ali Tabrizi. It's not even a criticism. Like, I haven't criticized Ali Tabrizi. I've said, Ali Tabrizi was my friend. To me, that was a human, personal friendship. And it's over now, and I'm sad about that. Like, that's like I just said, that's not really a criticism. It's not like, hey, I disagree with your view on vivisection or pet ownership. It's not intellectual. It's not political. It's just, hey, you know what? This guy was my friend, and he did the wrong thing when it mattered, and now I think we're never going to speak again. And that's sad for me, right? Now, like, Vegan was never my close friend, but we had this hour-long Skype conversation. But at the same time, you're going to someone's channel like Joe Best. We can just stick with Joe Best as one example, but it's not the only. You're going to channels that hate me and really tell lies about me. And like we were just talking about, like with Vegan for Good, channels that are not credible, that are really making up lies, and you're agreeing with them at the same time that to my face, you're telling me something else. So again, that to me, in terms of friendship, it's not political. I would have never made a public issue of it. In terms of friendship, what I have to say to her is, we're done. I never want to talk to you again. And that was not on my YouTube channel. That was not in my Patreon. That was not even on my Facebook. I made no public statement about that. I said to Anne privately. And again, in this case, it's not out of the blue. In the Skype conversation, we talked about exactly this issue, about exactly her going to these channels and approving me, and a couple of other issues where it was like, look, Anne, like, if you don't understand the friction between us, this is the friction. It's just the end of a personal friendship for me. And now you see what she did. She turns around, first opportunity, she's being a fame whore about it, and she's reproaching me saying, oh, well, why couldn't we have just talked about the problem? Well, I could say that's you, Anne. You never talked to me about the problem. You did all this shit publicly at every stage, so you know.
I was trying on the video to say, hey, I know you're going through a lot. I support you with the fucking shit that Durian Rider did. I fucking put my neck out on the line locally from a fucking gang posse here locally saying, no, I don't agree. Assaulting someone's okay. Yeah, we used to be friends, but I don't agree with that. Right. I seriously took a stand.
Look, I totally understand. That's the sense in which you're different from Joe Best. But the sense in which you're the same as Joe Best is, in that video, you're repeating things other people said about me that are actually not true. And you don't realize that. But that's why I'm writing to you and saying to you, look, like you know, just to stick with the same example, like to say that I tried to shut down somebody else's channel, to say that I'm censoring people. I totally understand why you're saying that, because other people have said it. But that's like Joe Best, he made videos about me that from a legal perspective did defame me. Because Joe Best basically heard things that Durian Rider said, and a couple of other people close to Durian Rider, and he treated those things as true, and then he came on camera and he basically repeated those things and expanded on them and speculated about them. So like Joe Best is not as bad as Durian Rider, but I had to write to Joe Best and say, look, Joe, like, and at one point, Durian Rider had already admitted those things were bullshit. It was like, Joe, this is defamation. Like, you're actually saying, like, I contacted underage girls in Chiang Mai, which is not true and never was true. And even if, like, Joe, like, his style, he acts as if it's reasonable. He's like, oh, well, you know, let's just think about it. I mean, you know, like, his style is not angry. But it's like, dude, I don't care if you're calm or angry. What you're saying about me is, you know, seriously defamatory. So that's all I'd say is, I think for you, even you can get stuck in that trap where you're treating sources that are not credible as credible. You're not asking me, and you can't get in touch with me. And I think in your case, you also weren't pausing to think, well, there must be another side to this story. Like even with the YouTube blocking the one video. I didn't block 10 videos, there's one. So obviously one video legally did something wrong. So that's all I'm saying. There's stuff like that where you can put the pieces together. I want to come back to something you said earlier. Something you said earlier was also true. You said people had expectations on me and people wanted me to build some kind of a community or network. However they imagine different ways. But like the contrast to that is for me, I am just trying to make real friends. Like no community, like it's that simple. And I remember like Jake Eames, for example, he had like an epiphany about that one day. Like he had already known me for a couple of months. And he said, you know what, today's the first day that I figured out that you're actually trying to be my friend. And he said the reason that was so hard for him to understand is that every other person he talked to on YouTube, that was not what they were trying to do. They were either trying to, you know, start a channel or do something related to fame or promotion or some kind of more political thing. And like when I talked to Jake from day one, Jake's much younger than me. I forget, he's 21 or something. But it's like I just talked to him the same way I talked to someone I met in a cafe, and then I get to know you better, and I'm starting to talk to you, and that's it. Where there's really nothing else going on.
I think you should probably address that your intention is to just find close friends that end up working with you. And that's how it is, because the perception of Vegan Cheetah and Light Twins is that you're somehow like making this like this community that's gonna just help to bring more diversity into the vegan movement.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, it's possible. Like, within my Patreon, I've got more than 200 members, but really only 50 members are active, because some people just pay you money and don't come around. Like, they just support you. They want to show that they support you. It's only $1. So, like, it's not a big a deal. But, I mean, if that was what I was trying to do, then I would be failing, which is fine. I mean, I am interested in meeting as many like-minded people and people I can cooperate with as possible. But something I talked about on my channel a relatively long time ago, I'm also really about, like, in real life, I'm about real activism, real political activism, even though currently in China I can't do anything like that. So, like, the Light Twins are Canadian citizens. They live, like, 3,000 kilometers away from where I live. Canada's a huge country. Like, even vegan gains, whatever. Like, so yeah, it is about real friendship. It is about real cooperation. It's about real activism. It's also about the long term. And look, again, I'm not trying to convince you that I'm a nice guy. I said earlier, like, I'm a bit of a Bronze Age character. Like, to me, I look at someone like Vegan. So on the one hand, there's friendship. On the other hand, there's like, okay, this saving the planet thing. Is this someone I can actually cooperate with to do something in terms of politics, activism, ecology? And in Vegan's case, the answer is really no, right? Like, she's not going to be that person. With other people, the answer is yes. And my sense of honor and dignity, which may be bullshit, and it's out of fashion in 2016, it's very medieval, is like, look, man, when it counts, do you live up to this notion I have about honor and dignity? Like, someone else writing to me talked about loyalty. I actually don't use the word loyalty. I don't expect someone like Anne to be loyal to me. I don't. But, if there's a conflict like this, again, if you actually believe the shit Joe Best is saying, why didn't you ask me? Either personally or in Patreon, when you have, because again, her saying she can't talk to me, she had ways to talk to me. She can get in touch with me in 2 seconds, and if any of these, like about the money thing, this is not Vegan's issue, but like other people, if you actually think I've stolen the money, why wouldn't you ask me instead of denouncing me in public? Like, right when we have contact, when you know me, you know what I mean? So to me, those are more questions of, honor and dignity and what have you. Because again, in many cases, I think they don't believe it. It's just fame whore activity. It's just like, hey, if I make a video saying Eisel stole the money, I can get an extra 200 views or 500 views. These are all small numbers, right? As opposed to actually talking to me, doing something really sincere.
There is no good and evil. Like, this topic on YouTube is not some fucking movie that's playing out in the cinema. Yeah. This is real life. So when you're saying someone's evil and is single-handedly taking down the movement, someone is not Darth Vader or some fucking, like, evil, like, supreme figure in some movie shit. This is real life shit. And this is more about the interaction between one another. And that's why communication is essential. Yeah. So when I'm seeing videos that, like, get taken down, or I see that there's not a correspondence and there's a refusal to correspond, it further creates this mystique and detachment from interaction, and then people's minds go haywire and they start filling in the blanks with some crazy convoluted stories.
Right. But look, I mean, as I say, so that's why it just comes down to credible sources. And now at this point, Vegan also is not a credible source. She's just making shit up about me, about how I'm a narcissist and whatever. She's gone off the deep end. And again, like, look, there's a difference between people who disagree with me and people where I think they're stupid or otherwise, or sometimes insane. Some people are not stupid, but they're mentally unwell. And I just never want to talk to them again. I don't want to cooperate with them. Something I said the other day to somebody was, look, it doesn't matter. Like, this weekend, there could be 1,000 people who want to talk to me on Skype. There could be 100 people, or there could be just 10 people. I still can't talk to all of them. I still have to say no to a bunch. Even if it's only 10 people, I'm going to say no to 7. You know what I mean? So, like, I'm not famous, but maybe 2,000 people really like me on the internet. Like, 5,000 people watch me. 2,000 people really care. Like, I made the time to talk to you. There are a bunch of other people I'm saying no to. And yes, no, it's cool. But like I just say, like, this is the reality. Is like, so if people ask, like, what's the dark psychological motive? Am I a narcissist for saying, look, Anne, fuck it, I'm not doing this again? That's just the reality. Was I already did it with her once. I think less than a month ago. Maybe it's 6 weeks, but like not that long ago. It's like, Anne, I took the time. We talked for more than an hour. We set ground rules. We addressed all this shit from the past. We thought we had a good basis. It's like, you don't get another 2 hours out of me. I'm done. Like, okay, and now like just a couple weeks later, it's the same shit, and you're freaking out again. Like, I'm sure Anne, I could have gotten her on Skype again and calmed her down and talked her through it and be like, look, Anne, here's what you need to understand. But no. And the truth is, it may be a horrible thing to say, the reason for my making that decision is that I think she's too stupid to be worth my time. And yes, maybe I'm a complete asshole for saying that, but I said it to her privately. I didn't say it to a single other human being. Not even one other human being did I say Anne was stupid to. I said to her privately, Anne, I'm not doing this to you again, and I think you're too stupid to play this game. That's also not saying you're completely stupid. It's saying I think you're too stupid to play the games you are playing on YouTube. Because she was playing games, which is whatever. So, yes, I'm never claimed to be a nice guy. But the reality is, meanwhile, like emotionally, there's one person who's going to talk to me about on Skype this weekend. And she is a vegan YouTuber who deleted her channel. Nobody ever threatened to kill her. Nobody threatened to beat her up. She didn't do anything. But still, the emotional YouTube really fucked her up emotionally. So that happens to some people. Even Jake Eames, he shut down for a while. I think he's making videos again. I've seen a lot of people get emotionally devastated by this stuff, and it is kind of funny. I'm in this tiny minority of people. It even when they bring my mom into it, even when they bring my daughter into it, it doesn't impact me emotionally the way. But I am saying to people, including Anne, I said this directly, Anne, including Vegan for Good. I'm saying to people, I need you to have intellectual integrity. Because if I'm going to spend my time on the internet debating this stuff, I want to debate things that have real substance. You and I think, don't really disagree on any issues. But if you really disagreed with me about the vivisection issue, but it was an intelligent disagreement that's about the substance, it's not accusing me of working for the CIA. It's not accusing me of destroying the vegan movement inside. It's not making up shit, whatever. I think that's totally worthwhile. I'd say, great, let's have this debate. But the problem is so much of this stuff is this fame whore behavior where I can't spend my time doing that.
Vegan ideology, as much as it can help to be a tool towards a better world, that it doesn't have all the answers.
Right.
And I think that a lot of people just want to think that veganism is just this like magic bullet. It's like the sorcerer's stone. Like it's everything. You can eat it. Like it'll cure everything. And
coming back to this question of dividing the community, for you as a gay man, I'm sorry, I'm presuming you're a gay man. What if someone said to you, you know what, this gay rights thing, there's no point doing what we're doing. We need to work within the Catholic Church to make the Catholic Church pro-gay rights. You would have to make a decision. Maybe you think that's a great idea. But for me, if I were gay, I'm not, but I can sympathize. Say, okay, look, either I'm going to spend the next 10 years of my life working inside an organization that openly hates me, or I say, fuck that, I'm going to join some other religion or just not. Just leave the Catholic Church and have nothing. That's a decision you have to make, and millions of gay people have to make. I have met gay people who are still Catholic. It is what it is. Some people make the decision.
Like Christianity, pretty much.
Right. But my point is here with veganism, it's not dividing the community. Each of us, there were a lot of kind of crappy vegan organizations or crappy ecological organizations where we have to make that decision on a case-by-case basis. Do I want to spend the next 5 years of my life inside people for the ethical treatment of animals? Some people do. Some people are happy with that. Do I want to spend the next 5 years of my life inside an organization that eats meat? That's like a nature conservation group, but maybe they are pro-hunting. And even within veganism, so like direct action everywhere, I think it's kind of lame. It's a summary. I think it's kind of bullshit. But individually, we have to make a decision. Do I think this is bullshit to the point where I want to leave, like the Catholic Church, or do I want to work inside it, or what? So to me, that's not dividing the community. That's being honest about, like, hey, life is complicated and fucked up. We're making these kinds of decisions, and life is long, but it's not that long. I don't have 10 years to fuck around with the Catholic Church. I don't think you do either. But you know what I mean? So that's the kind of thinking we're all doing.
I've been thinking about this too, because when I grew up as a Christian, they were saying, well, Christians can't go to bars, they can't do this, they can't see these specific movies. And I was like, so, one, we're avoiding ourselves from these experiences to be able to reach the public, to be able to talk to them. Two, we're avoiding ourselves from these environments to be able to have these conversations. Right. So it's the same with veganism. Like, we have to integrate the complexity of the human experience. And also, we have to challenge our quote-unquote morals of veganism and, sometimes go to a zoo and challenge the zoo perspective to actually see it for what it is, to mourn it, to feel it, and to see how people interact in those environments. Because when we exclude ourselves from those environments, like, my brother brought me to SeaWorld. Like he drove down and said, "Oh, we're going to SeaWorld," and I'm like, "I don't want to go to SeaWorld. I'm vegan. Like, what do I do?" I was only there for a day, so I was like, "I guess I'll go into SeaWorld. It's against my ethics to spend time with my brother because I only have a day to spend with him." And I just weeped at seeing these orcas performing and these dolphins in this like bathtub. But that was a really amazing experience because it set in stone my stance against SeaWorld. I was like, no. And I saw the propaganda they used, so it was a good experience. But it was a horrifying experience.
I went to the zoo in Thailand, in Chiang Mai. And I just went to the zoo again here in China, and so I've talked about this, I think mostly within my Patreon, actually, not on YouTube, in Patreon. I did podcasts talking about that question of, would you yourself go to a zoo as a vegan? For me, the answer is yes, for these kinds of, basically for activist reasons, basically to have an informed perspective. But also, like, would you take your own child to the zoo? And what's that like as a vegan, what have you? And I got responses from other vegans who said, yes, I do take my son or daughter to the zoo, and we do talk about it. And like, as a vegan, in some ways, I think you're on better ground than the other people at the zoo, because you can say to your son or daughter, look, everyone else here kills cows and pigs on a daily basis for no reason, and we don't. You know what I mean? Like we're special in that sense. We care enough that we don't do that. And these animals, even though some of them are suffering in the zoo, like some of the animals are just obviously miserable, they're the best treated animals in the world. Which I know it's surreal, but like, I was just at a zoo in China, and I can look at those monkeys, the monkeys in the cage, and it's pretty miserable for them. They're the best treated monkey. They're the best treated animals in the nation of China, compared to the pigs, the cows, compared to house pets, compared to dogs. This is the pampered elite, and it's still terrible. It's still morally, as a vegan, you still react to it this way as a huge moral problem. So yeah. Anyway, obviously, there's so much we agree about, Conrad, and this has been a great conversation.
I love pangolin. I'm not sure if you've seen them in your time in China or Thailand.
Yeah, actually, I have a video specifically mentioning pangolin, the horror of that. But go on, yeah.
They're one of the most near and dear creatures to my heart. But every time they go to Thailand, it's the most traffic zone for pangolin in the world. Yeah. And not one relative for fuck has talked about this. Yeah. It's like when they're in vacation in Thailand, they are oblivious to any animal exploitation at all. And it's like, these creatures are going into extinction, and I love them. And it's like, I wonder with.
So I'm the one exception. I have a video about pangolin. I have a video describing how I saw pangolin being killed and butchered by the side of the road in Laos in the jungle. So there you go. I want my points, Conrad. I'm the one guy. There you go.
Okay?
À-bas-le-ciel.